So we'll get started. Good morning. It's Coffee with the Mayor. It's March 10th of 2023, and I'm Mayor Tim Swadley, and I want to welcome and thank all of you for being here. I'd also like to thank Cindy for letting us host this event here. Jordan's on the cameras today, and I also want to thank Derek Westby for coming down and helping us with some IT stuff this morning. So I appreciate getting started. Today is a special day in Stoughton, and it's Spread Goodness Day. So I was approached by some community members that really wanted to start something new here in Stoughton. So this is the first year, and it's called Spread Goodness Day, and we just want people to be kind and good to each other. This morning there was a group of Key Club members up at the high school, and I met them up there, and we greeted students and gave them some bookmarks as they came in the door to go to their classes. Apparently Mother Nature didn't get the message. It was Spread Goodness Day, but we're thankful that we can be here and the snow melted. And when I think of goodness, I think of our sheriff. Our sheriff is here today, Kalvin Barrett.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Again, as the sheriff, I tried to dial in 75 and sunny, but just couldn't make that work with the weather. So thank you all for braving the elements to be here. Also, too, I just have to give big props and a thank you to your streets department, because your streets looked really well this morning driving in compared to where I was coming from. So thank you for being here. Thank you for the opportunity for me to share a little bit about my background, where I'm at, but more importantly, where we all can go together. I also want to thank our elected officials for their leadership and their service to you as the people. It takes a lot to serve the people. It takes a lot to be a leader and do what's right and represent your people at all times. And the mayor and Supervisor Engelberger do a fantastic job of leadership through their own actions, as well as leadership as having a vision for what they see as best for this community. Again, my name is Kalvin Barrett. I'm the Dane County Sheriff. I was appointed in 2021 in May by the governor. And I was blessed to be elected by you, the people, in November of last year. I've been the sheriff for a little bit, close to 2 years, and I came from the Sun Prairie Police Department where I was there. I was at the Dane County Sheriff's Office as a deputy, and then prior to being appointed sheriff, I was on the academic side of our criminal justice system, and that was teaching at Madison College in our Criminal Justice Studies program. And I was the lead defense and arrest tactics instructor. So I taught in our law enforcement academy. So my experience coming into this deals with understanding and working in the jail as a deputy, working in patrol in a very fast and very busy community like Sun Prairie, but also understanding the academic side of it and putting empirical data and evidence to our decisions that we do, as well as I've been a trainer to understand that aspect of our criminal justice system as well. And it served me well at this point in my career. Our sheriff's office, our vision that we have set, that I have set with the opportunity to learn and understand from our people that are currently at the sheriff's office, including our deputies and our professional staff, our volunteers, but also our retired staff and deputies as well. And the vision that we have set for our sheriff's office is we strive to create a peaceful community for everyone to live, work, and visit as a trusted and respected sheriff's office. So that's our vision that we are going towards every single moment, every single decision that we make. Our mission statement, which is our daily mission. What do we do every day that I wake up and put on this badge? What do we do 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? What is the mission of our deputies, our professional staff, and our volunteers? And that is, we are dedicated to building relationships and solving problems through evidence-based decision-making and procedural justice. Number one, we have to be able to build relationships. We have to be able to communicate. We have to have community-oriented policing, because you, the people, are experts in your community. You know things before we do. Is there a Facebook page for the Stoughton area? As a Sun Prairie officer, there would be times I'd be sitting in my police car and I'd be on Facebook, not taking a call, right? Still working. And there would be stuff on the Sun Prairie What's Happening page of a car accident before it was even dispatched to us. That's how important you are as the people. You know what's normal, you know what's not, and you have the ideas. And it's our job to build these relationships, to implement what we think is best from our experience and expertise to better serve you, the people. We are here to solve problems. We are in the people business. That's what we do. We do not police. We do not police our areas. We do not police our jail. We do not police our towns or villages. We are here to serve you, the people. And whatever that requires us to do, we will do. That includes arresting individuals. That includes making sure that you are safe, that you feel safe at home, you feel safe while in the community, you feel safe while your children and grandchildren are at school, or while you're out in public grocery shopping or just enjoying a nice day. So that's our mission statement and our vision statement. What are the core values? Core values are the 5 things we feel are what we make every decision based off of. It's what we hire with, it's what we terminate with, it's what we create promotions. And those 5 C's of exceptional service is what we call them. They fit on one hand. Now, trust me, I tried to make them 6 so it could be really cool on a picture and be 6 points to the star. But I wanted to make it easier for our people because that's the key. You have to have core values that are easy to understand. And our 5 C's of exceptional service are character, competence, compassion, courage, and communication. If we do those 5 things with every decision we make, we will be successful on duty and off duty. Number 1, character. We hire for character and we train for competence. Character is the ability to do what's right when no one's looking. Character is the ability to treat people with dignity and respect, even when they don't bring anything or are value to you at that time. We can't train character. We can't put you through a 4-hour class and say, all right, you're ready to go get them. We hire for character and we train competence. What is compassion? Compassion is our ability to temper our application of the law from situation to situation. For example, we are not a blanket organization. It is not black and white when we enforce traffic or when we arrest people. If someone is doing 75 and a 55, we don't just write them a ticket without understanding what's going on. What if someone was going to the hospital? What if someone was getting ready to give birth? Those are the things we have to understand and be compassionate in what we do. Then we talk about courage. Courage is the ability to keep people safe, to make sure that we go into those dangerous situations to ensure you, the people, are safe anywhere you go in our community. But that courage also extends internally at our sheriff's office. We have to have the courage to look a friend that was in our wedding after a long time, after something happened, and say, that wasn't okay. It was unprofessional and we need to go speak to a supervisor. We have to have the courage to look at our partner or someone we just met and say, hey, you know, you've had that mustard stain on your uniform for 3 weeks. Go wash your shirt. We have to have the courage to look ourselves in the mirror and say, I'm not okay right now. I need help. That is courage, and that's what that 3rd C is. Then we talk about communication. We have to be able to communicate in a clear and articulate manner. Being able to communicate helps in telling people the why. And I think that's something that's been missing in our profession for so long. I can give you an example. I was a police officer at the Sun Prairie Police Department, and I pulled someone over and wrote a gentleman a ticket because he had his 3-year-old jumping on the front seat while he was doing 55 on 151. Kid was jumping around on the dashboard, very dangerous, car accident, fender bender, and that could have been tragic. I wrote the individual a citation, and I explained to him why I wrote the ticket. I didn't just give it to him and walk off. I explained, this is for the safety of your child. This is for the safety of making sure that we don't arrive to a scene and there's something's wrong. The laws are in place to protect our children, and we have to make sure we abide by those for the safety of your children. He was very upset at the time, very upset, but came in the next day to pay his ticket and thanked me for the ticket. He thanked me and said, I was upset at the time, but I realized that at that moment, you cared more about my child than I did. And that is something I needed to have, and I thank you. That is the importance of that communication and being able to tell people the why. A book that we give all of our new hires is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And it is a great book, right? Yes. Love Simon Sinek. If you haven't heard him, follow him on social media. I've read all of his books. Start With Why, Infinite Game, and Leaders Eat Last. Amazing leadership books. And that why makes our new employees focus on why they put on this badge every day. So many times we focus on the how and the what. Well, I want to become detective. I want to have a K-9. I want to be police chief. But you have to start with what is your why? What is it that drives you every day during those 15, 16-hour shifts? What is it that gets you going, climbing through water in the middle of December to go help someone? What is that why that allows you to pick up that overtime for your friend because you know their child's birthday party is tomorrow? That is what drives us every day. And those are the basics of what the direction I have set for with the help of our sheriff's office for us to move forward. Now, some of the things that we're seeing Dane County-wide, and here are some of the things that we've done to help with criminal justice reform. At the end of the day, we are not going to arrest our way out of the problems that we're seeing. We've tried it. We've incarcerated 2 million people in our country, and we still see the same people doing what? Same people coming back. So we have to get to the root cause of why the crime is happening. Because if we're just reacting to it, we're just spinning our wheels. I like to use this as an example of a river. Us in the criminal justice system are downriver, and we are pulling people out of the river and saving them, pulling them. And we're just continuing to pull people. But the minute we pull them out and they get released back to the community, they go upstream, and what do they do again? Jump right back into the river. And here we are trying to do all of these things. We need to go upriver and find out why people are falling in the first place. That means the less people falling in, the less work we have to do, the more responsible we are with our time and taxpayers' money. And those things that we're doing in the Dane County Jail with the help of our leadership here, including supervisors and mayors, is number one. We've implemented a medication assistant treatment program for the first time in our history. This focuses on those who are suffering from opioid use disorder. We provide them, we continue their medications when they're incarcerated. Prior to April 1st of last year, if someone was taking a prescribed medication for opioid use disorder, they would stop cold turkey when they came into our jail. They sit there for 6 days, they would go through withdrawals, we'd release them out on the street, and what would they do? They'd go right back there and use again, and then they end up in jail. So we looked at it the same way we look at diabetes medicine. Would we stop someone's diabetic medication while they're incarcerated? No. So we continue that medication so when they are released, they don't have the urges to go use again, which slows down. That's going upstream. Training is something that our county board really helped us with in having a training deputy. We know we need to be properly trained in everything that we do, and we have to be current with that training. In order to do that, we have to have trainers. If you don't have trainers, it's really hard. It's like teachers. It's really hard to educate a community if you don't have good educators. So our county board allowed us, and our county exec allowed us to add a training deputy to help with that. Something that goes on way too much in our country, as well as here in Dane County, is human trafficking. Sex trade and the labor trade is something that happens all the time, and it's rarely talked about. We looked at the number and the data and found out that it is more prevalent than we thought. And we needed the help of our county board and our county executive to get us a human trafficking detective. Now, we would like to build out that team with supporting evidence and data to support having additional members to that, but it is a serious issue that's happening daily here in our country, as well as in Dane County. A little fun fact, does anyone know what the biggest human trafficking event in the United States of America is?
Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl. Where else do you have millions of people fluctuating into one city for a weekend? Another place we saw it a lot when I was with the Wisconsin State Fair Park Police was the State Fair. For those 14 days, you had millions of people coming in. Human trafficking, finding all these things going on. We were trained to look for signs of someone in distress because that's what was happening. We found that people that were in control and in control of others would bring them to the fair And then we'd be able to look for the signs of someone who may be in distress. So those are the things that we're doing. We've also, as we announced yesterday, our Huber Center. So does anyone know what Huber work release is? Anyone? What's work release?
So they people incarcerated get the opportunity.
Absolutely. 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 So our Huber program is fantastic. It's a program designed for someone to serve their sentence while out into the community, and they continue to work. They continue to be closer to their support systems, and when they don't suffer the effects of institutionalization. There's still accountability. They can be out on release. They're serving their sentence while still working. We made the decision several months ago to take that Huber and turn it into jail diversion or electronic monitoring. So now everyone that is sentenced to low-level crimes on Huber by our judges, because they sentence them, goes out on an ankle monitor. It is a balance of 4 things that is helpful to the community. Number 1, accountability. We have to have accountability for people committing crimes. It's something that gets forgotten in our criminal justice reform mind. We always think about reforming, but we never think about the victims and survivors of those crimes. So number 1, it's accountability. Number 2, public safety. This allows us to know where someone is at 24/7, 365. We can set exclusionary zones around bars, around neighborhoods, around parks, so that the minute they walk into that, it alerts us and we can send deputies to their exact location. If they try to cut off or tamper that bracelet, it sends us an alert so that we can come and find that individual. If someone reports seeing someone in a place they shouldn't be, we can go back through the data and see exactly where they were. So we have the accountability piece. Number 3, it keeps people closer to their support systems. We're good in the Dane County Jail. We do a pretty good job with our programs, but it's nothing compared to the resources that are out in the community. Next, it is very, very responsible with taxpayer dollars. If someone is there for a low-level crime and they don't pose a significant threat to the community, why not have them in the community maintaining their job, maintaining their support systems, and maintaining training, education, and the programs they need to be successful? So that's what we've done in our efforts to continue to reform the criminal justice system while still maintaining public safety. Yesterday, the county exec and I came together and we're turning our Huber building, which is off of Rimrock Road, we're turning that, which has been empty for about 2 years. No one's been in that building. They're turning that into a crisis triage center. This allows us to take someone who is going through mental health crisis before they commit a crime for the help that they need. What happens now? They're in mental health crisis. There's not many resources for them. They commit a crime. Now we arrest them and take them to jail. This allows us to get upstream and get them the help that they need right away before they commit those crimes. And that is the key. Does it solve every crime that's out there? No. People who are going through mental health crisis and commit crimes still have to, by Constitution, come to jail. But if we can get to them before they commit that crime, before they strike someone else or steal something or take their car and drive out, or before they strike that officer, that is the key. So we've turned a building that was designed and built in the 80s for incarceration into treatment. And that is the key with appropriate leadership and why we're doing so well as leaders here in Dane County, keeping you safe while moving forward and evolving what we do. Because if we keep doing the same things over and over and over, we're going to keep getting the same results. But we have to make sure we're making evidence-based decision making. So many times our profession was stuck on the gut and the intuition. Looks like a bad guy, feels like a bad guy, must be a bad guy. It's not the case. There's no evidence to that. There's no articulation of the facts of why you think they're a bad guy. That's why evidence-based decision-making is part of our mission statement, because we go off of the facts, and the facts in many situations don't have bias. And that's what the people are asking for, and that's what you deserve in our service to you as citizens of Dane County. Whew, that was a lot.
Well done.
Well, I am always here. Obviously, I'm very honored to be here. I can take some questions. If there are questions that pop up later, there's ways to get in contact with me. I can provide my email address. If there are things that you were thinking about or whatnot, I mean, our very nice new facility is just down the street. But I'm here to answer questions and be a resource. Yes?
Yeah, I would like your opinion, Sheriff, as far as the business of what has gone on recently as far as the curfew being dissolved and in Madison, and just your thoughts on it.
Yeah, well, I think with the curfew, it's a balance, right? I think in the education, I took a deviant behavior course when I was taking my master's. It talked about a triangle. I wish I had a marker. I'm going back to my teaching days. But it talks about a triangle of deviant behavior. And one side of that triangle is the individual, right? They're individual, what that person's doing. The other side of that triangle is the group they're with, right? The group they're with, what are they doing? And the other side of that triangle is the availability to crime. If all those sides are met, deviant behavior typically happens. So when we look at the individual, what is that individual 15 or 16-year-old doing? Do they have idle time? Do they have productive time? Because if they don't have that productive time, what do they typically get into? Trouble. And I can give an example of this. I'll never forget it to the day I die. I was 17 years old. I was just starting to get my recruiting letters for football. I was in high school and I was walking down to practice, and a guy's name was Leslie. I'll never forget it. He sold a lot of illegal controlled substances in our high school. And we were walking down and he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, Kalvin, there is something I can give you that will make you feel like a monster on that field." And me being 17 and arrogant, I said, "I'm already a monster on the field," right? Yeah, where the arrogant finally helps out. I'm already a monster. And I'm on my way to practice. I go down to practice, and I think at that moment in my life, if I didn't have a football practice to go to, if I was going home to go sit on the couch and play video games, would I have gone with him? Probably. I didn't have anything to do. I was too busy to go do stupid stuff. That's why the data shows that children, high schoolers that participate in one or more sports are less likely to be involved in deviant behavior because you don't have time. You know what it's like? It's like when you graduate from high school or college and you start working that full-time job and paying your own bills for the first time, and you're too tired to go out and party with your buddies, right? I got to get up at 4 a.m. I can't do it. Have a good night. And everyone goes up. That's exactly what it's like. So when we look at that idle time, but we also have to look at crime availability. If you look at the vehicle thefts that are happening throughout the majority in Madison, what do? It's called car shopping. They go up to cars and they pull on the door to see what? If it's locked or not. If it's locked, they do what? They jump in the car and they go to the next one, called car shopping. If it's unlocked, they go through it. If it's unlocked and there's a garage door opener, they open it. Now they have access to the cars in the garage. If they sit and wait and no one comes when the garage door opens, they now have access to the garage. They go through the garage. No one comes while they're in the garage. They now typically have access to the house. And that's when you wake up to things missing. I've taken calls in some prairie where people have woken up and their strollers have been down the street. They use their family stroller to steal and roll their TV out of their house. What a violation on your personal safety that someone was in your house with your children and stole while you were upstairs sleeping. That is a terrible attack on your sense of security in your place, in your home, in your castle. So that's what we have. We have the availability of that crime. That is the key. So those are the things that we look at in regards to identifying that. Are kids involved in extracurricular activities? It doesn't have to be sports. Is there a band they can play in? Is there a chess team? Is there a cross country, girls on the run? These are all the things we need to keep individuals engaged, especially during those young ages. Martial arts, absolutely, Mr. Griffey. Also, too, through those extracurricular activities, our youth, get mentors. The biggest mentor in my life was my football coach, Coach Ed Carberry. He is the biggest mentor. I would not be here if it wasn't for him sitting me down in 9th grade. When I was a little knucklehead with good grades, I had a 4.0, but I was still a little knucklehead. And he told me and my mom, he said, "Kalvin, where do you want to be in 4 years? Do you want to be in and out of jail, or do you want to be getting hundreds of recruiting offers from colleges across the country? Same thing with these extracurricular activities. These coaches, these martial art instructors become mentors. They're the ones that us that grew up in single parent homes can go to get guidance on girls, on school, on studying, on college, on whatever that is. So that's what we really need to really help with that idle time and provide our youth with mentors. Is it one thing? It's not. It's a combination thereof. And I feel the COVID-19 pandemic really put our youth back because they lost, not being in school, they lost those educators and they lost those mentors and those counselors in their lives. And now we're seeing the result of that. Excellent question. Yes.
So how do people in mental health crisis get into this Huber program, and what's the design in the building? Who's there?
Yeah, so the Huber program and the mental illness, those are two separate things. Huber is a sentence. So once someone's gone through the process, they get sentenced to 8 months with Huber privileges. The mental illness aspect of it is right now, the largest mental health facility in Dane County is, do you know? The Dane County Jail. And the Dane County Jail. And that, in the large, anyone know in the country, our largest mental health facilities are jails and prisons. And I think that's a problem. You shouldn't have to go to jail to get mental health care. You shouldn't. So we're trying to provide those resources to individuals before they get involved. This program at the Huber Center, which will be turned into, will be renovated to be a 23-hour temporary crisis place for officers or for people in the community. It doesn't have to be officers, to bring someone that needs a nurse, that needs mental health care, that needs a shower, that needs a meal, that needs someone to talk to, instead of them coming to jail. So this is a way of getting on the front end or getting upstream to really help with our incarceration population.
So when will that be up and running?
That's what they're in process. The county exec mentioned yesterday that we're in the process of looking at the building. We got to obviously through the county board approve someone to look at the area, to design it, to see what it would look like, to see how to expand it. So we're still working on that time frame, but we are at the step of transition of saying this building is no longer going to be used by the sheriff's office, because we understand the importance of mental illness and addressing that. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Great question, too, by the way. Thank you. Yes?
How many deputies are there? How many law enforcement people are in the sheriff's department?
Yes, excellent question. So we have 471 sworn deputies, 471, another 119 and a half, 119 or 120 professional staff. So we have around 600 total. At this point, we are down 60 positions, because we're trying to keep up with all of the retirements. So in 1994, when the public safety building was open, they hired over 100 deputies to staff it. Well, here we are close to 30 years later. What are all those 100 starting to do? They're retired. So now they're going weekly, and we're trying to keep up with by hiring them. And that's where we're kind of behind, and we're doing things to ensure that we are bringing in good people that match our 5 C's of exceptional service to better serve. We cover over 1,200 square miles of Dane County, 40 square miles of waterways, rivers, and streams. And we have jurisdiction every place inside of Dane County. Though we're not the primary, we are still there to assist, and we have arrest and enforcement authority in the entire county. So if something happened in the city limits of Stoughton, the Stoughton Police Department would be the primary agency. We would be there to assist and eventually take over if asked to. But this is their area. They're the primary jurisdiction.
So the sheriff's office would be things outside of Stoughton, like down Pleasant Springs?
Yes. Yep.
You have exclusive.
Yes, we're the primary in our rural areas. So towns, villages, unincorporated areas, that's our primary areas where we patrol.
So I assume the recruits are coming from the military, or where are you getting your recruits?
We're trying to find anyone and everyone. Again, the mindset or the philosophy of hiring exclusively from the military is a great approach to identify those that fit, but we want people from a diverse background. We want people that are stay-at-home moms and dads. We want teachers. We want social workers. We want people that are in the community that can come in. I can teach anyone how to drive a car fast. I think many of us do here, especially in Stone. I've talked to the chief, just kidding now. I can teach you how to put handcuffs on someone. I can teach you how to shoot. I can teach you how to clear a building. I can teach you how to put on a uniform, but I can't teach. It's hard to teach someone how to empathize with the single mother with 3 kids in the backseat going to the laundromat on a Saturday night after working 3 shifts. That is what we're looking for. You have that. I can teach you all of the other skills. We get many from our military because they have that understanding, that life experience, and that empathy. We get them from Madison College, where I used to teach, right out of the academy, but also recently, with the assistance of our county executive's office and the Department of Administration, we've started a lateral program, which means that we will bring officers with already experience into our agency, and we will match their compensation, their vacation time, and their sick time. So we have a pretty big class that'll be starting on March 20th. So identifying those who are looking to expand and come to a larger agency to be compensated well and to serve Dane County, we're bringing those in to help with those that are leaving on that faster basis. By bringing someone in that's already a law enforcement officer helps us time-wise. Because if we bring someone in that's not already certified, we have to hire them. Then there's 18 weeks of a 720-hour academy. Then there's another 5 weeks of a 200-hour jail academy. Then we have about 8 weeks of our training. So it's almost a year to a year and a half before they're in the schedule serving, where when we get veteran officers, we save 18 weeks. We save, for the most part, 200 hours from the jail academy, and we get them that baseline training. And we have a body of work to compare and learn about who they are. I just hired from another county a 20-year veteran. There was nothing better than going through 20 years of a police officer's background to determine who that person is. Because during that interview, we are all smiley. During that interview, we'll all work weekends and holidays, right? I'll do anything, Sheriff. Yeah. The reality sets in, right? But when you have 20 years of someone's work history to ask them, that's a pretty good sign of who they are. And that's who we want to bring in. So there was nothing better than seeing 20 years of a career to determine if this person, to identify who they really are. So that is the key, and that's what we're trying to do to help fill those that are retired. So what I ask, is it okay if I do an ask? Please.
That doesn't mean you'll get it.
Yeah, that's good. I want donuts once a week. No, I'm just kidding. No donuts, right? My ask for you is for anyone that you know, any of your nieces, your nephews, your grandchildren, your children that are looking to serve their community, that want to serve selfless, to put others before one's own self, please have them go to teamdane.com and apply to be a Dane County Sheriff. If you get good help at Quick Trip from someone, and you're like, you would be a great deputy, go to teamdane.com. You go to Culver's, and you see someone dealing with a difficult customer, and you're like, wow, that's what I want in a deputy. Go up to them and say, hey, I know the sheriff. Please go to teamdane.com and apply to be a sheriff. Because there's only 471 of us at the sheriff's office, sworn, 600 total. There's 566,000 of you. And if everybody in Dane County recruited one deputy a month, we'd have over 500,000 applicants. Think about that. If I do that, man, I'll write a book, I'll copyright that, and you'll never see me again. Just kidding.
Unless we invite you back for a book signing.
A book signing. Absolutely. So that's just the one ask that I would have. But excellent question so far. Any other questions? Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about sort of your career path from when you decided to get involved in law enforcement
Absolutely.
to the time you became sheriff?
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. I always wait for that because I don't want to start talking about my background. And they'd be like, man, he's self-centered, man. All we learned about him. So thank you. Yeah, so my love and affection for this profession, and just so some backdrop, I came back into it. So I was at Madison College. I was teaching and doing in the academy. I had summers off. I had weekends off, had some Fridays off. I had a great schedule, but I made the decision for my love, my why for this profession to come back into it. Because I saw at that time that there was a battle between two of my worlds. It was the law enforcement profession and our minority population. Two things that I'm a part of. I'm a black man and I'm a law enforcement officer. And I felt I could come in and bring and address the common ground we have together and not create additional divide. But that love came from when I was 12 years old. My sister was 2. My father was a San Diego County sheriff. They were the marshals at the time. And he formed a blood clot in his leg, and that blood clot went to his heart. We were on our way to go play baseball. So we pitched to each other, and we hit the ball and laugh. And I remember him yelling on the phone. I go downstairs, and he's collapsed. I'll never forget the voice of that 911 operator when she taught me how to do CPR. I'll never forget the firefighter that took us upstairs to play Nintendo while they were working on my father. I'll never forget the smell, the aftershave or the cologne of that police officer that hugged me when they were putting my father onto that rig before he passed away. That is why I love this. That's why I'm here, to serve in this position and create others to do exactly what I do. So after college, I moved to Texas with my wife. I was an executive recruiter for a real estate and construction company, which was a blessing. Things are put in our lives, help us get to where we be. As a recruiter working 70 hours a week and making $3.50, I realized the importance of articulation and speaking and talking and being concise. The understanding of being under pressure and being able to sell something. Then I went and I was a middle school teacher at Liberty Christian School, which is a private school in Argyle, Texas. I was a 7th grade science teacher and an 8th grade physical science teacher. Then I had the opportunity to be a deputy. I wanted to move my family back up here. My wife is from the middle part of Wisconsin and grew up in a big family. So I became a Dane County Sheriff's Office deputy in 2009. I was there for about 2.5 years until I felt that my ability to really impact the community was limited because I was in the jail. That I wanted to be the first in Sun Prairie, the first African-American officer in their history, and to be able to be in patrol and build those relationships and solve problems. And so in 2011, I left to be the first African-American officer in Sun Prairie history, and I loved it. I live in Sun Prairie. It's a community that I lived in and that I served in. It was important for me to understand that as a leader because obviously with my small size, I'm really hard to pick out. So I stood out, right? There's not another guy my size riding around on an orange Simplicity. So when someone says, was that you? I can't be like, no, it was another guy, right? Yeah, it was me. So being able to serve in the community that I lived in was important to set that example. Then I had the opportunity to get a little bit higher and have that impact on those that are in our criminal justice studies program. So at Sun Prairie, once they were police officers, I could have, do that. But if I got them in college right at 18, oh man, I can imprint in them the importance and my, things that I think is important. So that's what I did. I was there until 2021. I taught classes such as Intro to Criminal Justice, Intro to Corrections, Community-Oriented Policing, Diversity in Law Enforcement, Interview and Interrogation, Professional Communications, taught a bunch of classes there. And then I was the lead defense and arrest tactics instructor. So I taught use of force, deadly force, communication, articulation, case law, all of those things. And that's what prepared me to be here as a sheriff. I didn't think I was going to be the sheriff. I didn't know that it was going to happen. But again, life has an interesting way of putting things that are meant for you to be. I was sitting on the couch on a Monday evening and I had about 250 texts within 10 minutes. And they were saying, I think Mahoney's going to retire. And my life went from Fridays off, weekends off, holidays off, to this is it. Our profession and what we do is a calling. It is a calling. The key is answering that calling because there's many that don't answer it. And I made that opportunity to answer it, and that's why I'm here. So thank you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Any other questions? Last chance. Hopefully you'll come back.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We definitely will.
All right.
Yeah, and I do just have, if I could just take another few minutes, just to present two of the leaders that we have here. Can you guys come up here just for a second? These are two leaders that I've known that I work with, and they do a great job of leadership. They do a great job of communication, and they're people that I trust. And for your service and for what you do, I'd like to present you both with something that's very important in our profession, and that's our agency coins. And on this coin is a patch of the Dane County Sheriff's Office, but also our 5 C's of exceptional service: character, competence, compassion, courage, and communication. And this is for my gratitude for you and the work that you do. And if there's anything you need, you or the people of this great community can always reach out to our Sheriff's Office. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you to Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to set up our next guest is Michael Engelberger. He's our County Board Supervisor, and he has the dubious task of trying to follow that. I mean,
good luck with that. Well, thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Kalvin also. Kalvin, didn't you do a little stint over at the UW also?
No, UWPD? Oh,
No,
football.
football.
Oh, I didn't even mention that. Yeah,
UW football player. Yeah, that's going to be a tough act to follow here. So, Mayor's setting up my PowerPoint. I've got a little bit of a PowerPoint here. So my name's Mike Engelberger. Thank you. I'm the District 35 Supervisor on the Dane County Board. I was elected in last April, and prior to that I served on the City Council with the Mayor, with Tim. We were both council members at the time, and you know, I did about 6 years with the City Council here, 2 terms, and it was great. I mean, we had you know, we do a lot of different things, and we work with great people such as Cindy over here and her staff does a great job with the senior center. We've got a whole bunch of staff people in the city of Stoughton. Now that I'm with Dane County, we've got awesome staff with Dane County also. Kalvin's one of the greatest, and really appreciate working with you over there, Kalvin. He's a great sheriff. He mentioned there's about 600 people in the Sheriff's Department. Dane County has about 2,500 or so employees overall. And what I'm going to do is just kind of go over what Dane County does. A lot of people, you know, say, you know, what does county government do? You know, they don't really know. They know what the City Council does. They know what the state does. They know what the feds do. And so I want to just go over a little bit. First of all, I represent the city of Stoughton, portions of the town of Pleasant Springs, and portions of Dunkirk, the closer areas to Stoughton. Those district lines changed last year when they redid the district lines. And the previous supervisor, Carl Chenoweth, he served about 10 years. He retired last year, so I ran in his place. And his jurisdiction was just strictly the city of Stoughton. So the district has changed a little bit, so now I represent not only the city of Stoughton, the whole city, but some rural areas. So that makes things a little bit different as far as with certain things like development. There's a whole different attitude about developing in the city as opposed to developing in the townships. So I have to take a lot of different perspectives into consideration when I'm representing the people. These are a list of all of the elected officials in Dane County. There's 37 Dane County Board Supervisors like myself. It's a huge board. People, you know, how do you work a board that's 37 people? And really, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. We have like 20-page agendas for our board meetings. We have 2 board meetings a month, and we combine a whole bunch of different things. We do a lot of different committee work, and so that's kind of how the board works. The other elected officials, the county executive, the sheriff, of course, district attorney, county clerk, clerk of courts, the treasurer, and the register of deeds. Those are all elected offices of Dane County. And there's various terms. What's your term, Sheriff? Is it 3 or 4 years?
4 years.
4 years. District supervisors are every 2 years. So there's different terms for some of the different offices. There are, like I said, the board is huge, so we do a lot of committee work. There's actually over 90 committees, boards, and commissions of the county government. And these committees listed below are the standing committees, which each is made up of just board members, board supervisors. The executive committee, environmental, agriculture, and natural resources, health and human needs, personnel and finance, public protection and jurisdiction, which covers the sheriffs and other judiciary. There's public works and transportation, which is the committee that I'm on, and then zoning and land regulation. So those are the committees of the county board. The executive committee is pretty much the, let's see, I got to turn my pages here. I'm just going to try to go through these pretty quickly. Executive committee is the policy, principal policy of the county board body. Oversight of the county board. It has oversight of the county board and the county board office and staff. The board actually has some staff that deals with all of the things that we deal with. Oversight of the offices of the county clerk and the county executive. So that's what the executive committee has charge of. The environmental and agriculture committee. That committee, it's supervisory for UW Extension, Land and Water Resources, Lakes and Watershed Commission. It also has oversight of the Parks Commission and the Food Council. And it advises the county board on agriculture, conservation, and of natural and environmental resources.
The city works with UW Extension on various projects. They've helped us facilitate a strategic plan for the Opera House. They've done a strategic planning with the Stoughton Chamber of Commerce. They're working with the Redevelopment Authority and the Sustainability Committee.
Yep, it's an education arm that the county uses, and they do a great job. They not only represent, do things for the counties, but they actually do counties all over the state. And
it's a really cost-effective way for us to do it. I mean, it's much more cost-effective than hiring an outside consultant.
So health and human needs, that's a large area of the county, what the county does. They monitor, coordinate, and advise the county board on all aspects of human service policy and delivery. They're supervisory for the Youth Commission, aging, the Area Agency on Aging, Veteran Services, and Human Services. And they act as a policy oversight of the Housing Authority, Humane Society, and the Specialized Transportation Commission.
And we do have some units down by Veterans Road that falls under the Housing Authority. And then I know obviously the Senior Center relies on a lot of the services from the county as well.
Yep. Personnel and Finance Committee, they have oversight of all the county's finances and the annual budget. The budget we do around October, November is when we prepare the budget each year. It has oversight of all personnel matters throughout the county, supervisory committee for the Department of Administration, and oversight of the county treasurer's office, the library board, culture affairs commission, equal opportunity commission, and the civil service commission. So each of these committees have different jurisdictions throughout the county government, and The next one is public protection and judiciary. This is the one that Kalvin's Sheriff's Department falls under, as well as all of the different courts and emergency management for the county, telecommunications, emergency medical services. It's basically all matters pertaining to the criminal justice system, and it's as you can see when I'm going through these, the county is a pretty vast organization, really.
Yeah, we utilize DaneCom for emergency management, so our system is on the same wavelength as the county, so if there's an emergency, everybody can communicate. Back in the days, I think everybody had their own systems, and now it's all working together, so I think, you know, that really improves the communication throughout the county.
So the Public Works and Transportation Committee, that's the committee that I'm on, the standing committee. I'll go over that a little more in detail a little later on in my presentation here. And the last standing committee is the Zoning and Land Regulation Committee. It supervises the Planning and Development Department, including survey zoning, tax description, plat review. It has oversight of the Register of Deeds Office, the Board of Adjustment, and advises the county board on all matters relating to zoning and land use and land regulation issues. So those are all the committees. Now these are the committees that I'm on. I serve on 6 different committees, plus the county board. County board meets twice a month. The Public Works and Transportation Standing Committee meets twice a month also. In addition, I'm on the Land Conservation Committee, the UW Extension Committee, the Dane County Regional Housing Strategy Advisory Committee, which the mayor is also on. This is a large committee that's made up of, what, 60 people or so, probably?
It would fill this room.
Yeah, we have in-person meetings sometimes, and then once in a while we have online meetings, and it's a lot of people involved. And what they're really trying to do is find strategies to improve housing conditions and affordable housing, which is really a tough issue in this country, especially around Dane County. I'm also on the Public Works Sustainability Committee and the Dunkirk Dam Lake District Commission, which is just south of Stoughton. It's from the Dunkirk Dam about 2 miles upstream, and it's just a commission that's made up of all of the people that live on that area, and I'm on it as a representative of the county board by statute. They need a representative from the county board on it, and when they changed the jurisdiction lines, this area became, or actually, we had a different supervisor that was on it before, but now I'm on there, and it's another good committee. They're trying to you know, keep the water clean and take care of the weeds and all that kind of thing, keep the waterways clean, and so that's one of the other committees that I'm on. So with my involvement, mainly, like I said, my standing committee is the Public Works and Transportation Committee. We deal with all the building and construction and road construction through that committee. We deal with the landfill, which is quite a organization up there. One of the things they do at the landfill, they built like a $25 million facility a few years ago to capture the methane gas and convert it to natural gas. And what they use that for a lot of the county vehicles. And then we can also put gas, natural gas, right back into the pipeline and actually sell it. So it's a money-making situation for the county, as well as renewable energy. We also deal with other renewable energies such as solar. We've got several solar fields around the county. One is at the airport, a pretty large one. Right now they're building another very large facility or solar field that's out near the landfill. And once they get that one done, actually I think there's another one too. But once they get this done, this next phase, they're going to be able to supplement all of the, support all the county facilities with electricity, and so that's what's going to happen after we're finished with that solar field. So the county exec, Joe Parisi's done a great job with this stuff as far as the renewable energies, and he's done a lot of different things, good things for the people of our county. Other things we deal with the Public Works and Transportation Committee are the Alliant Energy Center. We handle that. The Vilas Park Zoo comes under our jurisdiction. County parks, the airport, and rail transit and real estate. So, as you can see, it's a pretty vast situation that the county deals with. I'm just going to go over a couple more slides here with some of the funding. This is our budget for 2023. It totaled $853 million, so that's a pretty large organization. What's the city's budget?
It's less than 20 if you include all the capital and the operating expenses.
And of course, the city is 13,000 people or so. So you look at your tax bill and you can see what your taxes are for the city, for the school district, for the county, for METC, I believe, right? And then there are some other taxing jurisdictions, like I mentioned the Dunkirk Dam Lake District. That's another taxing authority that goes onto their tax bills, the people that live around that section. So when you look at your tax bill, the one thing about the county, well, let me just go through this. Property taxes for that funding include about 26% of the budget. So about 26% of that $853 million is paid for by property taxes. 10% paid for by the county sales tax, which I believe is 0.5%, right? Yeah. And it's 5% state tax, sales tax, and 0.5 for the county tax. Other counties have different. Some have no tax. Some have different amounts. And then the fund balance, 4.4%. That was what went towards our budget for 2023 for the funding. And then outside revenues consist of almost 60%, which includes federal and state aids, public charges for service, like fees for licenses and different things like that we assess for the city or for the county, and then other taxes, a very small percentage, like less than 1%, I believe. So that's the funding. Whoops. And then operating expenses. This is just I'm just basing this one on the operating budget, which is $714 million of the 853 million. The rest is capital, which is 138 million, and that's like large items like snow plows and items like that, vehicles, those types of things for capital expenditures. So the operating budget, which is the major portion of most governmental agencies, employees, benefits, all of the how you're operating, office expenses, those kinds of things. So these are the percentages here. Health and Human Services is a large percentage of the county budget, and that's almost 40%. public safety and criminal justice system is about 21, a little over 21%. Public works is 9.6, general government 9.5, debt service, which is borrowing, is about 9.2, and then a couple of smaller amounts. So that's what makes up the expenditures of our budget, and so that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. Just to give you an idea of what the county does as far as county government. When I was talking about like your tax bill, the reason the county's portion is kind of a small amount of your property tax, because it's spread over 500 million people in the county, and that's why that portion is a small percentage. But that's kind of all I wanted to really say. I'd be happy to take any questions anybody has. So, anybody got any questions?
For Mike?
If not, this is my information here. You can get a hold of me on my email. You can go to the website, the supervisors page, and I've got like there's a bio there of myself, and then there's a blog that I try to update like every 6 months or so. I've only got one in there so far, but I'm about due to put another update in there. So, and you can actually click on something on that website to get it emailed to you whenever that comes out. So, if you're interested in that.
I'm still trying to figure out some things about affordable housing,
Mhm.
and this may be too complex of a question as a group, so maybe I need to talk to you individually.
Yeah.
But there was an article several months ago about Dane County awarding about $8 million for new affordable housing
Mhm.
units.
Yep.
And as an example, one of them is in Oregon, and it's going to be 60 units.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it's divided up into so many units are available, if I understand it right, for people who have like 30% of the, what do they call it?
The medium income?
Well,
The medium income, or?
the median
So-
income
Yeah.
in Dane County.
So it's subsidized.
Right,
Yeah.
so the median income in Dane County, I looked up, was $75,000.
Yeah.
So 12 of the 60 units, if I understand it, are gonna be available for people who are at 30% of that
Mhm.
amount.
Yeah, and the rest are market rate?
No, then 24 of them are at 50%,
Okay.
Mhm.
and 24 of them are at 80%.
Mm-hmm.
So, my first question is, the 12 units who are at 30%, that means people need to be earning about $22,000 a year. And then what do they pay for rent?
It's typically
I
a
have to-
percentage of their income, and off the top of my head, I don't know that
I think-
formula.
I think it's just subsidized at those rates.
It would
You
be
know.
30% of their income. So
And then the
whatever
rest
their
would be
income is,
subsidized. Yeah.
They would pay 30% of that for their rent.
So the units that are at 50%, what do those people pay?
It would, I'm sure it's calculated accordingly to, it's got to be either a HUD or a rural development contract, is my guess, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, we've got all kinds of different community block grants and things like that,
I'm
with
just
different.
curious how much the people are paying. And then 24 units at 80% of the median medium income, people have to be earning $60,000.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering if there isn't somewhat of a misnomer here that this is affordable housing. 24 of those 60 units are going to people who earn $60,000. Whereas I think that the general public, when you hear that this is affordable housing, feel like
Yeah.
it's something, an opportunity for a single mother with maybe 2 children working at Walmart. And I don't see where that is going to be at all feasible.
Yeah, there's a lot of different programs that are all set up different, and there's different subsidies, and I'd have to look at the exact one you're talking about, but we can talk on the side, and I can get you some other information on that.
And I think that's one of the purposes of this Dane County Housing Strategy Group that Mike and I serve on. We're about halfway through a year-long process, so we're not at the phase yet where we're talking about strategies. But I think when we get to that phase, we'll have a better understanding of what these programs that are currently out there look like and how we can hopefully expand them. Obviously, it comes down to money and resources. Some of the money that's being used now is one-time money. We really need to come up with some sustainable solutions. We can't be one and done. This is something that's not going to go away in 1 year. This is going to be a multi-year, maybe even a multi-decade, initiative for the county.
Costs are just skyrocketing with, building costs, and it's just hard to keep up with, so.
But are you saying there's like federal regulations stating
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
the
Yeah.
rental?
Even
for instance,
even-
Greenspire.
Right.
Can you tell them a little bit
Yeah,
about
Greenspire is set up that way, and Cindy has more expertise than I do on that, but it's income-based for the folks that are living in Greenspire. So, that's an example. The Housing Authority, with the units that I mentioned down by Veterans Road is another one. Elvinstead was a project that was done several years ago where it's income-based as well, but those are typically, are they federal or are they state? The income limits, what are those?
Combination, but I think a lot of it is federal, and that's part of the problem, is that I think you could have developers that would be more willing to collaborate, but those federal dollars are so hard to obtain that it's just easier for them to build for market rate and move on.
Yeah.
Because, a local community can't subsidize, housing to that degree. But it's really hard. And there's a lot of competition for those grants that build those apartments. We tried to get some of those grants here in town. I know Tim was working on some workforce housing on the west side, and we were turned down for those grants. So it's very competitive.
Yeah.
Because there are so few of those grants available.
You're kind of at the mercy of developers, and municipalities and local governments need to work with them to try to get them to do certain things to create some better opportunities for affordable housing. Did you have a question?
A lot of that is, I'll just add, it's on the state level. So WEDA is the one that we work with. They get some federal money, and then the developers typically partner with the cities to try to create additional workforce housing. And as Cindy mentioned, last year our developer out on 51 West on the Stoughton lumber side submitted an application to WEDA, and unfortunately there was about twice as many requests within the state of Wisconsin than they had money available. So they work on a point system, and we really thought going into it that we had a pretty good opportunity to secure those tax credits for the developer, and we weren't awarded them. I mean, it's highly competitive. There's things that we do to try to be more competitive. For example, do it in a TIF district. If there's a redevelopment area that we can use, you get more points for those types of things. So we work with the developer to help them look for locations, and we have that conversation every time somebody wants to build here in Stoughton. Not every location is ideal for the point system, the way it's structured, but we certainly, make that part of the discussion.
And what the county does is try to provide the resources for some of these projects like this. They can't do everything, but they provide as much as they can. And Joe Parisi has tried to increase those amounts in our current budget. So doing the best we can on it. And, you talk about affordable housing. I mean, there's a large sector of the population that has a hard time affording any type of housing, especially younger folks that are trying to buy their first, or older folks too, yeah. It's just becoming a bigger problem all the time. Did you have a question?
Yeah, my question was, what is your favorite project going on in Stoughton?
My favorite project in Stoughton. Well, I mean, most of our development is going on the west side of town. I would like to see some more development going on the east side.
Well, we do have the dam coming up, which is really exciting as
Yeah,
well. We
yeah,
have
the-
addition
as
to
far as the water
Senate
park you're talking?
water
Yeah,
park, all that
I'm-
stuff. Pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah,
that
yeah, I
we
think
talked
that's,
about.
my opinion of that is I was on the council when we actually started discussing those types of things with that situation and that riverfront development. And I think it's going to be something that's going to draw people to our community, and I think that's something that we need here to,
Build a community and-
yeah, the more people that come, I mean, we've got a lot of different things in Stoughton, such as the Opera House, we've got our historic nature, you know, we've got all of our downtown shops and restaurants that people come to, our events that we put on, and I'm excited about people coming to our city and you know, spending money at our businesses and that type of thing. So it all helps and makes our community grow, and it allows, the way the laws are with the state laws for funding municipalities and school districts and county governments and everything, you've got to develop and you've got to grow in order to get enough money to provide to pay for your services. So, yeah. Yep. Any other questions? If not, I think the mayor needs to do his presentation.
Yeah,
and
so I'd like to
appreciate
thank
it.
Mike for being here. You know, Mike and I met when he first got on the council, and at one point I was working for Fastenal in Fitchburg. Mike had an office that was nearby. Mike was in the sheet metal business, and he was a union leader, and often I would come over and we'd sit down and talk and really try to understand, you know, how we could both serve and make Stoughton a better place to live, and I'm really pleased to see Mike at the county level. For you that don't know the rest of the story, you know, Mike and I did serve on the council together, and then Mike helped me get elected as a mayor, and then he quit the council. So we're not. He still hasn't really explained that to me, but I'm thankful that he was able to take over for Supervisor Chenoweth at the county level.
Well, we were in good hands, so then I let him do it, and now I'm back and glad to be back and serving people. And anybody has any questions for me at any time, just get a hold of me, and if I don't have the answer, I'll get the answer for you. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Mike.
You bet.
All right, my portion is going to be short today because I know your head's probably exploding with all the information that you received from Kalvin and Mike, two amazing individuals. We talked about to spread goodness today, so we're trying to encourage people to do things to help each other in the community. With all this snow today, it's a great opportunity to do that. I know when I was out plowing snow this morning, I went a little further to my neighbors on both sides than I normally do. So just little things like that you can do for each other. Certainly being here makes me feel like you've spread goodness to me. One thing I always like to review, these are all the different ways that you can follow city activity here in Stoughton. We have new features with the WSTO is kind of our flagship for our TV station, our cable station. And then we have all these apps. And to be honest, I don't have all these on my phone. I don't know if I have that much memory. But certainly I take advantage of some of them, as well as the council catch-up is kind of a 15 to 20 minute summary of what transpired at the city council meeting. So if you don't want to sit through a boring 3-hour meeting, you can get every piece of information in 15 to 20 minutes. And then our quarterly newsletter, which will be coming out soon. I think the deadline for submission is next week, so you should probably see that sometime between now and the end of April. We are seeking nominations for Volunteer of the Year, Business Person of the Year, and Friend of Youth. This has been kind of a tradition here in Stoughton, so the deadline's coming up. So if you know somebody that you want to nominate, feel free to email those names to me and maybe a brief, reason why you feel that they should be nominated and selected in these categories. I think Mr. Griffey at one point was nominated and was selected for his fine work in the community. Sustainability Committee, they're still accepting information for their survey they're doing, so I think they're going to try to wrap that up pretty quick. They've had a great response. They've been out marketing in the community. If you get a paper or utility bill, you probably saw a copy of their survey in there. So if you haven't done it already, we encourage you to do that. Certainly want your feedback. VITA, you've probably heard about. That happens on Saturdays here, where volunteers come in and prepare your personal taxes for free. And if you basically you just show up here on Saturday and they'll tell you what you need to do from there. Anything you want to add, Cindy?
There are packets here if anybody would like one before they go.
Excellent. So, we're really glad that we were able to bring that back a few years ago. And my story with that is when I began to run for mayor, the first homeowner, I knocked on his door, he answered the door, and he's like, if you bring the VITA back, I'll vote for you. So, and we were able to do that and keep him here with the help of Cindy to help provide the space, so we appreciate that. Some things that were approved at City Council you might have heard, and we can talk a little bit more about that as I get through the slides. Stoughton trailers we'll talk about. We have new park design guidelines, so if a developer comes to Stoughton and wants to understand what the expectations are in the park, we can give them a copy of the guidelines ahead of time so they know what kind of the rules will be as we enter into negotiations. We did receive a grant for work that's going to be done on 4th Street toward Isham Street, where the new development is going to be, that I'll talk about later. We did some restructuring in the police department to create efficiencies and make sure that everybody understands what their role should be, and we really have an emphasis on our sergeants doing training with our field officers. We have 5 officers that have been with the city for less than a year. They're experienced officers, but they're still learning Stoughton. So with the new structure, we really believe that we'll have more, boots on the ground out there and do some more training, which obviously is important for law enforcement and the rest of the city as well. We've worked on some job descriptions, and then Sentinel MI will take place again this year, and so will coffee breaks. So those are all some approvals. Here's some of the development that's occurring. You've probably seen this one before. This is the 51 West. And right now, the first apartment's being built. We do have an approval for the second apartment. Some of these duplexes here are going up. The park has been planted, the trails are in, and people are loving it. So I think some of these orange duplexes here will be zero entry, which means they won't have basements. So if you have mobility issues, those will be ideal types of places for people to live. And, they'll be as affordable as they can be right now. What we're trying to do is get more inventory in Dane County, because that's one of the reasons why the cost of the homes and rents are going up, is because of the availability. So that's also kind of artificially inflated the value. And I've heard stories where tenants have been reluctant to renew leases because they have a waiting line for people that are wanting to get in there and willing to pay more. So that really is added to the shortage and has driven up the prices for rents and home ownership here in Stoughton. We're starting to see more duplexes because that's a more cost-effective way to get people in the homes. This is kind of what the apartment out there looks like, and there'll be another building that will be more L-shaped that'll go behind it. You can kind of see that that's the building C there. And then where it stops up here, that will extend into the property that Stoughton Trailers bought recently. This is kind of an overview. So the apartments are here. Second one will be over here, and then this road will extend into Stoughton Trailers all the way to the back of the school. This is a concept plan from Stoughton Trailers. In the first phase of their development, what they want to do is put their headquarters here. And then you can see there's quite a bit of stormwater and lakes that are part of that, because it's really a wet area there. And all of our new developments, we're using the 200-year flood standard to make sure that in the future we don't have flood issues. Years ago, you designed it for a 50-year flood, then it went to a 100-year flood, and now we're doing the 200-year flood and working with one of the county agencies, or the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission approves these stormwater management plans. The dotted lines are all the trails. We have an emphasis on making sure that all of our trails are connecting. We did have a meeting the other night with regarding work that we're going to do on the Virgin Lake Trail, which is part of this connection to the south. And we got some pretty good feedback from the homeowners. We're trying to address whatever we can to make the improvements. Jung Garden Center is open now. If you haven't been there, that's in the old Stoughton Garden area. So we're excited to see them up there, and they seem really nice people. This is another building here that was recently rented out to the gutter guys. So this is a new business here in Stoughton. So they do, gutters on your roofs, keep the leaves out, especially on a lot of the newer homes or two-story buildings, and the older homes are as well. So it's a nice addition to our community. This is out by Walmart, and that center unit now is open. I should get a new sign because they do have a sign on their middle unit there. It's a cigar and vape shop. The Crazy Dog Mom, I don't know if anybody have ever heard of her. She's down on the east side of town, and she's going to be moving block down across the street into the right side of the building there. There used to be a flower shop there and an eyelash place, and then on the left side for many years there was a monument company there. So I'm not really sure if there's any activity going on that other unit yet, but the Crazy Dog Mom's going to move down on Main Street, which would be awesome. And that's all I had. Are there any questions for me? Yes, sir.
Music appreciation on Monday, isn't it?
We do. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
So music appreciation, I think it's his
At the
20th
Opera
season.
House, right?
Yep, at the Opera House. So it's Monday afternoons at 3 o'clock. It's free, and they have a variety of musicians that come in. You can go to the Opera House website and see the list of the different musicians that are coming in. Typically, they're students, could be former high school students.
In the newsletter.
Okay, could be high school students, it could be UW students.
The university has a lot of guys coming in.
Yeah.
I think about like 10 weeks.
Yep, it's a several week-long program. Cindy says you can also see it in their newsletter, so she's way ahead of me. You can pick up a newsletter on the way out as well. The Opera House itself is in full swing. If you've been here in the past, you know how uncomfortable the seats are. That's no longer a problem. They have pads on the seats now. They're custom made. They were complete. I went to a show the other night, and it was great. So they did a huge fundraiser for that, and those have been completed.
They also have an elevator.
Yes.
Yes.
So you can get up without having to crawl those steps.
You have a question?
I would recommend the second week's performance because my grandson will be performing.
Oh.
He's a sophomore at Lawrence University, and he's really a wonderful pianist. So everybody come and
Just
see.
thought I'd bring
This will
that
be his third time there, so obviously John Boyd likes him.
Yes.
There you go.
All right. Any other? Do you have one in the
What
back?
are they doing with Beyond Park?
Beyond Park, we've had a several-year transformation out there. So that park in the past has been used for youth baseball, and what we found is a very wet spot back there. It's kind of a wetland.
Yeah.
So we made a decision, since they were having difficulty mowing it, maintaining it, and even using it after rain, that we would take the part that was the outfield and turn that into a natural prairie grass, which was planted, I believe, 3 years ago now. So that's just starting to mature up nice. And then where the backstop and fences where we took them out and just left that as a green space, that's a little drier. And then they put in a new basketball court, kind of a half court for basketball, and then put in, I think they're putting in some other features in the park. And then in the process, one of the things that we've been doing in all of our parks is to make them all ADA accessible. We want everybody to be able to use our parks. So our Park and Recreation Director, Dan Glenn, has a couple plans. We have a comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, And then we also have an ADA accessible plan for our parks. So we've been gradually, as we're doing work in our parks, making sure that all the trails connect so people with disabilities can get in there. Rotary Park is a good example. When we put in the bathroom there a couple years ago, we have this kind of windy sidewalk down there leading to it. And the reason it's windy like that is to make sure that it meets the ADA requirements for the slopes to make it safe and usable for everybody. Nordic Ridge a few years ago when we put the playground equipment there, that playground equipment is ADA accessible. We had a local group that helped fundraise to pay for some of that. So it's a huge initiative for all of our parks. It's a lot easier to do it on the new parks, but to go back on the old parks, it takes a little bit more time. We've done some work at Norris Park as well to create a trail system to go in there, and then to make sure all the bleachers are accessible as well.
At the end, people used to go down there for picnics too, but they had a shelter and toilets and all that, and that's gone.
The shelter is still there. The shelter is still at Bjorn Park. The tennis court we took out because that was in the area where it was really wet, and that's where the basketball court was. So we moved the basketball court closer to the shelter where it was drier land there. Any other questions? All right, thanks again for being here today. It was great having Mike and Kalvin here as well. I know you didn't come here to listen to me, you came here to listen to them, and we appreciate you sitting here. A lot of good information, and if you want to watch the replay of this, you can watch it on any of the WSTO apps or channels that were on the screen earlier. And encourage your friends to come out again next month. Haven't really talked about who might be here, but that's something I'll work on, or you might just get stuck with me. We'll see how it goes. But I appreciate you being here, and have a great day, everyone.